we heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, guys. It is Wednesday, August 10th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. And I'm your host with a scratchy throat, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Guys, I want to make a point really quick before I get into my ranting and raving about the news and all the latest BS that's going on. Make sure you pass around to your friends the fact that I have a website and that it is a massive archive filled with videos and movies and articles and pictures. Pass it around. I spent a lot of time working on the site, and I don't have any advertising or anything. So besides word of mouth and, you know, people that respect my my point of view or what I do, putting up links, so a lot of people, I mean, I I have a pretty high traffic rank on Alexa, but that's not why I do this. I want people to see the site because of the vast amount of information that's on there. So please pass around the information, give it out to everybody you know. If you guys send me the address, Federal Jack's mailing address is on the website. If you go there and send me like a self-addressed and stamped envelope for like usually first class mail is like, you know, $3 or $4. So if just by, you know, however, you know, if you want to send me an envelope with like $4 worth of stamps on it with your own address and everything on it, just send it to me and I'll load it up with some flyers and I'll throw a couple movies, some DVDs in there. I'll make sure it stays under the limit so you don't have to pay any more, but I'll ship it out to you. So feel free. You can ask anybody that's ever dealt with me before. I do that kind of stuff for people. If somebody makes a donation to the website, I don't go on pleading for donations. I have a chip-in button, but I don't ever plead for donations. But if someone does, they always get free DVDs mailed to them. And anybody that's ever donated to the site can attest to this. So I always try to go above and beyond and be different. So just spread the news, spread the word, show them the website so that they can see the articles, because I have a lot of articles that other people might not publish. And it's important that people see this stuff because, I don't talk about Britney Spears or anything like that unless it's concerning all the MK Ultra and mind control stuff. But I don't talk about useless crap. And the point of view that I give is not the controlled media point of view. So just to let people know, because not many people, some of the listeners that listen to the show don't know about the website. They know I have a YouTube channel, or they know I'm a host on this network, but they don't know that I have my massive website as well. So go check it out. It's free. I hope you enjoy it. And coming soon, I have new federaljack.com T-shirts, brandy new with our with the new card logo, and of course Uncle Jack on the back with the two puppets. We'll have hopefully I'll have them within the next 3-4 weeks, and when I get them, I'm going to announce a little contest on air, and it's not going to be something like Jones, but I'm just going to announce a little contest on air, and the winner will get a free Federal Jack shirt and some DVDs and stuff. All right. Without wasting any more time, because there's so many listeners. And by the way, I want to thank the listeners. 71 countries, guys, we're heard in. 71 countries right now, and all 50 states in these United States of America. Isn't the internet a wonderful thing? You wonder why they want to take it away. So thank you to all the listeners in all the states and all 71 countries worldwide. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to me, and thank you for taking the time out to listen to the Orion Talk Radio Network. So we really appreciate it, and we are paying attention, just so you guys know. Okay. Check this out. Here we go. You guys ready? Does everybody have their waders on and their boots on? Because it's about to get thick in here. Apparently, we got the guys that killed SEAL Team 6. The other day they said we'll probably never find the insurgent or never know the insurgent who shot that fateful RPG at the Chinook and killed all those people. Well, apparently, I guess we're that good that we found the lone insurgent. I guess, all the other insurgents were like, oh, Ahmed, great job killing all those SEALs. Yay, Ahmed is our hero. And somehow we picked up that Ahmed did it, and we, dropped like 2 500-pound bombs on the area, or excuse me, 2,000-pound laser-guided JDAMs. And at least that's according to one press release. Anyway, we bombed the hell out of this insurgent stronghold, and we conveniently got the guys that did it. So, to recap, since May 1st, we got bin Laden, buried him at sea with no photos. SEAL Team 6 is then killed in a crash months later, and the insurgents responsible for it, were taken out. So there's no one connected besides the innocent Pakistani people that were the neighbors in Abbottabad. And I bet you if you watch the local news in Abbottabad, within the next 6 months, I'll call it right now, I'm willing to bet that the people that have come out and said, the citizens of Abbottabad that have come out and said that whole thing was a farce and a lie, I guarantee you they start dying in car accidents or weird, unmistakable things happen to them. Oh, my God. Watch. Because that's how it always happens. That's what's going to happen, people. I mean, come on. They got the people in Pakistan, and I'm not making this up either. Like this isn't Popeye, hearsay. This isn't me saying something just for the sake of saying it on the radio. They're saying they got them, and they changed their story. Now it's not 22 SEALs. Now it's 17 SEALs, and the other 5 Navy guys one was a dog handler, and they were other different rates, whatever their as the Army would call their MOS, or the Navy or Coast Guard would say their rate. Whatever their rate was, there was 5 people that were at SEAL. So now all of a sudden it was a total of 38 people. Now the numbers have changed to, we had Afghans in there and everything else, and they're throwing all this other stuff in there. Then they said there was 3 Air Force what do you call it? They're not. They call in the close airstrikes. Basically, they're. I can't remember. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. the term, but they go on the front line, and they're the ones that use the laser guidance weapons to paint a target and bring a 2,000-pound JDAM into it. Now it's not 22 SEALs, it's 17. These guys can't. Their story just whoever's writing it, he sucks. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't believe any of this crap. Welcome to the second segment of the show today, guys. It's Wednesday, August 10th, 2011. I'm going to finish up with the whole SEAL Team 6 thing, and then I want to get onto the London riots because it's important that I cover that. And just to remind the listeners that I will be going to 2 hours. Right now, it's only an hour. I know some people get fired up because I usually get warmed up around the bottom of the first hour, and I get everybody else riled up, and they're ready for the second hour. I've even been told that 2 hours isn't enough. But starting in September, I don't have an exact date, but I will tell you soon. As soon as I find out, I'll let you guys know. So soon. But I'm going to be going we're going to be going from 10 to 11 to 10 to 12, and Joe is going to be having the same thing on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Freedom Link Radio. So he's going to be going from 10 to midnight as well. So we're going to be doing 2-hour shows during the week. All original broadcasting, live, bringing stuff to you that scares the pants off the average person, which is good. I want people to wake up. I want you guys to – I want my show to be that show that you wait for during the week to tune into, kind of like, people used to at least – people I know and myself used to tune into like Bill Cooper and try to find Coast to Coast when Art Bell was on. And again, like I said before, Art Bell kind of has some shady things going on. Then again, so does George Norrie. Anyway, I don't want to get off onto that. So the whole Bin Laden thing, okay? Here's the deal. This is all BS, okay? It is complete BS. And they're failing miserably, by the way, because they're not their playbook sucks. They're unimaginative. They don't veer too far from the template that they constantly use. And then, you can only use the same play 7 or 8 or 9 times before the opposing team says, hey, wait a minute, that looks slightly familiar. So, now they have to baffle you with special effects. That's why they have CNN. Suddenly, CNN has this animation within like a day or two. They have this retarded animation based on the government's official story, and then all of a sudden the official story is not what happened. They said that SEAL Team 6 wasn't going in to rescue Rangers. Now, just like I said, and many others, I wasn't the only person, but like I stated, SEAL Team 6 wouldn't be going in to help out another special forces unit that was pinned down. It doesn't make sense. If the Rangers are pinned down, you don't send in another special ops team. You send in 2 or 3 platoons of Marines, or you send in more Rangers, or the 10th Mountain Division, or the 101st or the 82nd Airborne Division, or Air Cav. You don't send in another special forces team. It doesn't make sense. They don't do that. Okay, you wouldn't have Navy SEALs riding in a National Guard Chinook. Adolf Bernanke, somebody he's in the chat room, one of the people in the chat room said, you got Air Force, Navy, and Army all crammed together in a piece of crap National Guard helicopter? Come on. That's not what happens. The military doesn't just slap together operations and run around roughshod like that. that screams of lies and setup and everything else. Just that's not how things work, especially the special forces. And they hold themselves to a higher degree, so it's not like SEALs would be like, okay, we'll just, we'll just hop on this piece of crap National Guard helicopter. And to understand, the National Guard doesn't maintain their stuff to the standards that the SEALs would have. The SEALs helicopter has, I don't want to say armor, but it's a little more armored up, as in it's got more armament on it, meaning it's got 2 GE miniguns on either side, one on each side. You wouldn't be able to get close enough with an RPG. That door gunner would annihilate anything on his side of the helicopter. He's got a complete 180-degree view. And the door gunner on the other side has the other 180 degrees. RPGs can't fly very high, so the helicopter would have had to have been flying extremely low for them to hit it. And when any helicopter pilot flies that low, they haul ass. They're not doing cruising around slow. Case in point, the next day, CNN, go on CNN's YouTube page and go back a couple days ago, and you'll see a report from one of their reporters, okay? He says, I was just in a Chinook, and the pilot was doing about 140 miles an hour, and he was doing evasive maneuvers. You think they just came up with that SOP in 24 hours on how to fly a helicopter when you're flying low? Really? Really? I'm expected to believe that the military just pulled that out of their ass in 24 hours. Really? And all these pilots know how to fly low and fast in 24 hours with no training ever before, right? Right? Wrong. Anybody with half a brain and some common sense that doesn't react emotionally or like a Pavlovian moron to the news can see this. The mainstream media is full of it. I mean, come on. If I came to you, right, and I said, dude, they're doing MK Ultra stuff, they're programming people, and they're making mind control slaves, and I gave you all these details, and then the next day I said, well, they're not really mind control slaves now. They're mind controlled, but I wouldn't say that they're slaves. They're kind of willing. And then the next day I was like, well, they're not doing mind control at all. I was completely wrong, and they're just teaching them to dance. And then the next day I was like, look, they love them. They take care of them. You see how I'm changing the story? And that's just off the top of my head. I mean, but you get the point. They change the story every day, and they expect you to look at them like they're a credible source, and then they have the balls to turn around and say the alternative media they're conspiracy theorists. They're nutbags. Why? Because we say, hey, this smells like crap, and I'm raising the BS flag, okay? I'm hoisting it loud and proud, and, oh, you're crazy. You should trust the government. The government's not wrong about everything. No, but there's a lot of stuff they do lie about, okay? And I'm not the one whose story has changed at all. All these other alternative media sources, they haven't changed their thesis, their stories when people come out and whistleblowers and everything, but the government has changed theirs. So if you were in any other relationship with anybody else besides the government, okay, because what we have with them is a relationship, whether you like it or not, okay, so put your relationship with the government to the side for a second and look at things like if this were a relationship with a woman or a man. If your husband came home, okay, and was out with his friends, and they smashed the car up and killed somebody in the process, and they said, well, we didn't mean to, but, Bob was drunk, and I tried driving him home, and then they grabbed the steering wheel, and then the next day, well, I was drunk too, and, then the next day, I was really the one that was hammered, and Bob was driving, and I grabbed the steering wheel, and we hit 4 or 5 parked cars and killed a couple that was in the car. You see my point? See how the story, if the story kept changing, the wife would be like, what a scumbag. You're a lying piece of crap. I can't believe anything that comes out of your mouth. You'd start to question everything that the husband or wife told you. If it was a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a brother or a mother or a friend or a cousin or an uncle, you would do the same thing. If it was a personal relationship, somebody a human being, and they kept changing their damn story about anything, whatever the case may be, and you found out that they lied to you, you would be all over it, and you would start to question everything that you'd been going on. You'd start to look at things and go, oh, wow, maybe this makes sense as to why. But when it comes to the government, people, they're afraid. because it's comfortable to believe in this myth that some schmuck in a cave with a beard, on dialysis engineered 9/11. And, I'll end it with this going into the break. If you really believe that this bin Laden death thing, the gunfight, like I said when it first came out, and then they said there's no gunfight now. What was he, jumping over his dialysis machine, John Woo style? Who writes this crap? We're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't buy it.
Sunday afternoons, 1 to 3 Eastern, here on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Well, welcome back, guys. I don't know if any of you guys heard, but yesterday, before I start talking about the London riots, yesterday on MSNBC, Dylan Ratigan lost his mind. He just went off. So I wanted to play that for you guys really quick. Let me cue it up here. See if I can.
We owe $70 trillion.
I understand that, but
to walk out a $4 trillion solution, which is basically just a way for the Democrats to avoid dealing with this until 2017. I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground, both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid. And the fact of the matter is, until we actually, and I'm sorry to lose my temper, but I tell you what, I've been coming on TV for 3 years doing this. And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward, Susan, to deal with this.
Go Dylan Ratigan. It's about time somebody on MSNBC talked and told the truth. Now, not surprisingly, today, Dylan was off working on his book, and he was a call-in guest on his own show, so I'm sure he got a talking to just like Cenk from the Young Turks. And I think, personally myself, I don't like the Young Turks. I think, yes, it's nice to see Cenk opened up and he understands things, but he would still pull the party line and he would protect Obama on a lot of stuff when he was on MSNBC. I'll give him credit for standing up, though, and walking off the show and everything else because they messed with him and told him he had to change his tone. So got to wonder if Dylan Ratigan's going to be next. And I'm not saying Dylan Ratigan, is 100% perfect, anything like that, but I got to give him credit. He stood up and he just had a "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore" moment right on the middle of MSNBC. So screw you, GE, and your warmongering network, and kudos to Dylan Ratigan. I send you a virtual beer through the internet, my friend. If I ever get a chance to sit down and have a cold, frosty one with you, I will. And yes, that was yes, Jeckler in the chat room to answer your question. That was live on MSNBC when he lost his temper. If you go to Federal Jack Tube 6, you can see it. It's my YouTube channel. It's one of the latest videos. It's Dylan Radigan is mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore. And you can see the whole, I think it's like 4.5 minutes. But he goes off a little bit of a second time. So that was about halfway through. And it was good to see him lose his mind because, it's nice to see somebody actually, watching him, you could see he wasn't acting. He really meant it. You don't see Bill O'Reilly and the rest of these scumbags talking about any of this. So at least Radigan stood up. Now, before we waste any more time on this, I want to get into the London riots. And it's important because there's a few points things I want to point out. The cops were ordered to stand down. So although they did kind of show some force, they really weren't showing. I mean, American police, we all know, they would have had tanks. They would have been out there. This would have been squashed within 24 hours. People would have been shot in the street, tasered, beaten, and everything else. Okay? They allowed this to happen, so it kept getting worse. Now, why would they do that? Well, first of all, the question is, did they even start the riots to begin with? Did they take anger? Because you have to remember, these people are social engineers, and I'll explain all this in a second. But did they even create the situation knowing that it would happen? And the reason I say that is this. You have a situation where people are getting pissed off and they're awaking, just like Zbigniew Brzezinski said last year at the Council on Foreign Relations meeting in Canada. People are becoming globally aware. What if they started this as a pressure release, like a pressure relief valve? It lets off just the right amount of steam. They have it in just the perfect area, so there will be patsies or fall guys, okay, because there are morons that'll just hop on and go with it. And it's a way for them to siphon off this anger towards government and get rid of it and turn any speech against government scary and bring in stricter laws on speech and gathering and protests and everything else. And then, of course, it would bring, freedoms on the internet because the social networking sites like Twitter, Facebook, and BlackBerry Messenger, which is private, is being blamed for all this. One of the MPs in Britain is asking BlackBerry to shut down its private messaging service in all of the UK until the riots are over, thus punishing everybody, collective punishment, because a few are using a piece of technology. See, laws and things like that are created when politicians don't know how to solve a problem. And because they've never had to deal with this stuff before, they don't know how to deal with it. So their only reaction, their knee-jerk reaction, is to call for martial law and everything else. Now, these guys haven't changed their tune in 3 or 4 days, saying we don't want martial law, then we do. They want it from the get-go. But you can't just openly do that, especially in the British society, because then you would have the Brits turn around and go, oh, what the hell? And now you have these people already rioting. You would inflame the situation. It would be like throwing gasoline on a fire. But if you allow the chaos to grow for 3 or 4 days, like Henry Kissinger said, today the people would be enraged if, UN troops are walking through the streets. Tomorrow they'll be asking for it. And now you have people, they've done polls in the UK, and people are like, they should, 1 out of 3 wants live ammunition used on these people. It's amazing how fast someone's humanity can be taken away because they're afraid. Because they're afraid. It's as simple as that. And they know this, and they're playing this. This is a goddamn game to them. It's a big game of chess. And unless you understand how the game is played, you're not going to understand that you're even being played. A lot of people jumped on this and were like, look, they're summer of rage in London. They're mad. I refrained from doing that. I do have video reports from different news agencies showing what's going on a page I made on Federal Jack, but I refrained from giving my opinion on it till I sat back and I watched it for a few days. And watching it unfold, it looks very contrived. Okay, and it serves a lot of purposes. It gets that pressure down, and it allows them to bring in draconian laws and stuff. and act like scumbags and bring in martial law and do things that they normally wouldn't be able to do because the public is asking for it. Whereas 4 days earlier, the public would have probably it probably would have fueled the protests against the government. Now, anti-government talk and stuff like that will be frowned upon because people will be afraid of it. Fear is the ultimate tool. And the government will always use that. The only thing that will overcome that fear is knowledge, because with knowledge comes self-empowerment and true power and wisdom. And that allows you to not be afraid, because if you know if I come up to you and say, ooh, Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda are in your closet, ooh, be afraid, ooh. If you know the truth, you're going to say, dude, kick rocks, piss off. But if you don't know the truth, if you're in that fear mode, if you're in fight or flight, your blood is not pumping to your brain, so you're not thinking. It's pumping to your stomach, the viscera, the fight or flight syndrome. You're not thinking. They know this. They're social engineers. They study this stuff. They think we're all stupid. And I'm going to try until my dying breath to wake everybody up and make everybody on an equal plane with these scumbags when it comes to knowledge. Because then and only then will these douchebags lose. We're going to break. We'll be right back.
South Dakota, New York City, I am everything.
Welcome back, guys. This is the final segment of this Wednesday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. Again, coming soon next month in September. We're going to 2 hours during the week. So everybody's wishes and desires have been fulfilled and granted. You will have an extra hour of me every Wednesday and every Friday. All right. Since we're limited on time here in the last segment, I'm going to finish up with the London riots. And I want to play something for you really quick. The supposed shooting death that started the first riot and then all these copycat riots, took off from. The shooting death is now I don't even know how to say it. It's shady is the slightest way of putting it. Okay, check it out.
If all this was apparently triggered by the shooting of Mark Duggan on Thursday evening, it's perhaps surprising that only 3 people have left flowers at the place where he died.
IPCC investigators arrived on the scene at 9 p.m., almost 3 hours after the shooting. But 5 days into their inquiry, the information vacuum means that conspiracy theories are growing about how Mark Duggan died.
The IPCC are appealing for witnesses, but suggestions that a bullet which was lodged in a police radio was one of their own and had not been fired from another weapon has raised more awkward questions. But people who live nearby told me that a police surveillance vehicle had been filming the road for several days before the shooting. They claim to have seen armed plainclothes police hiding in bushes nearby, and say the taxi in which Mark Duggan was a passenger was taken away from the scene before being brought back later for more tests. And while the rumour mill continues to churn out theories, the local MP wants the facts.
Clearly, when a man dies in that manner on a London street, there are big questions, and we see speculation in the media today. I know no more, but there are some serious answers about what the nature of the operation was in Tottenham, because it was not a operation led by Tottenham police, it was led by Operation Trident centrally.
It may be the middle of the week before the centre of Tottenham is reopened to the public. Community leaders here think it's important that the Metropolitan Police, or the IPCC, open up by then too.
There you go. A mainstream news report right out of Britain telling you that they were up to something. They were videoing the area where this kid was shot. What did this guy know? Did he see something or know something that he shouldn't have? Because they say, oh, he was shooting at the cops. Turns out, no, he wasn't. He wasn't shooting at the cops. The bullet that was lodged in the cop's radio that was at first said to have been from Mark, the gunman. Oh, it wasn't his. It was a police bullet. Well, explain that one. Talk about jumping the shark. See, they don't pay attention. The media, this is why I say you have to pay attention to the news reports when things happen, when they first come out, but then you got to watch for the next couple days before you give it 72 hours, because usually within 3 days, the facts start to change. Look at the whole Navy SEAL thing, same thing. The facts will change and the story will change, and that's how you can catch them lying, because obviously one or the other might be the truth. None of it might be the truth. It could all be a contrived farce. You know, like my mother used to tell me, it's easier to remember the truth than it is a lie, because the truth really happened, so it's etched in your memory. You're going to remember it. Whereas a lie you made up on the spot, and 4 or 5 years down the road, you could forget what your lie is. But the people you told it to aren't, because they're remembering it because they had that experience with you, and your story is being etched into their brain. So they remember your lie, but you don't. And that's how people get caught. That little tidbit of advice from my mother really woke me up. And I was a young kid when she told me that. And that I used that to watch people, engage people. You know, look at Richard Nixon with the John F. Kennedy assassination. If you go through the research, he's said on 2 different occasions that he was in 2 different locations when he found out about the JFK assassination. And he was on record in Dallas. But he says one time he says he was in Dallas, another time he said he was in New York. Just not to get off on a tangent, but that's just a small example. Okay, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of others. All right. It's just, I want you guys to look into the London riots more than just with, oh, these people are pissed off, they're rioting and taking sides. Because that's what they want. See, they're creating chaos, then they're creating division inside the chaos, and then they come in and they create the order. See, remember, the Illuminati, their motto is order out of chaos. And they usually create the chaos first, and then we're your saviors, we have the answer. You know, I got to tell you, I got to make this point. These kind of things wouldn't happen. I mean, we're going to have riots in the United States, I'm sure. You know, people will, get pissed and have food riots or whatever. But you see how things are getting out of control where they're burning complete buildings to the ground and people are getting yanked out of their cars? That kind of stuff's only going to happen in northern states where it's against the law to own a gun. Because I can tell you, down here in the South, hurricanes hit, we don't have the same kind of problems, I've seen. We were without power for over a week when Hurricane Wilma came through, which was about a month and a half after Katrina. It came through here as a Category 2 storm, and it did a lot of wind damage. There was more wind than rain, and it really tore the hell out of South Florida. We had like 120 mile an hour sustained winds. It's a pretty powerful storm. We didn't have power for over a week. Do you know how we reacted? People in the apartment complexes were bringing grills outside, and everybody was coming down and having like an organized get-together. People were trading hamburgers for candles and stuff and helping each other. And everybody has guns down here. So, yeah, there were reports of looting and stuff, but those reports, it wasn't really, I mean, I guess you could consider it looting. It was a couple small incidents of people breaking into houses where the families had abandoned them and left. They weren't breaking into people's houses that were armed. Down here, it's a fixture to see plywood on the front door. It says, violent trespassers will be shot. That's the way it is. That's the way it should be. These people, and then you got vigilantes, they are standing up with bats and stuff now, but they're getting run over by all these scumbags and cars and stuff. No. You have a gun, you can shoot the prick through the windshield. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying people should go out and riot and everything else. But when all hell breaks loose, it's good to have that weapon because you can defend yourself from the idiots that are out there. I guarantee you if these shop owners were standing out in front of their shops with AR-15s and they said, oh, hell no. Remember, you could hit somebody with an AR-15 at a distance. These people, look, on a fundamental level, they understand this. Okay, I'm telling you. I've had my own experiences with firearms. I've had to draw down on people before. And I'm going to tell you, nobody wants you. If you have a weapon, nobody ever wants to deal with that. Trust me. I had a moron that tried robbing me and a friend of mine, and he had a toy gun. When people ask me, some of my friends have heard this story before. Long story short, he had a toy gun in his waistband. When he pulled his shirt up, I looked at it, and I've been around guns my whole life. I was in the military. I was a gunner's mate. So, I was going gunner's mate, and I ended up having to strike damage controlman because I couldn't go to A school because I got injured, and also the military guys will understand what I just said. Anyway, I trained as a gunner's mate first, and all my quals were done, and I worked at the armory. That was one of my jobs. I taught people how to shoot tactically with pistols and shotguns and everything else. So I know guns, and I was raised around guns. When this guy pulled his shirt up, I noticed, second flashed in my head, looks like a toy gun. So I drew my weapon. And when I drew my weapon, I said to him, look, I got one too, but mine's real. And I drew down on him, and as soon as I drew down on him, he dropped his shirt, screamed like a little girl, and ran. So I reholstered my weapon, and then I called 911 because I was like, well, I got to get the guy, this guy's nuts. I knew he was a crackhead. He was just, and the store owner that it happened in front of his store, he came out and told me the guy had robbed somebody the day before. So I was like, all right, now I got to call the cops. So I called Johnny Law, and I knew usually when you call the cops, it takes them 45 minutes to come out. Long story short, I told them there was some moron waving a gun around, and every cop under the sun in South Beach rolled out. So, but you see, I handled my business, and then I called the cops in for cleanup. That's how you handle your business. So, long story short, if people had their own weapons and they were able to defend themselves, they would not be able, you wouldn't have this freaking problem. I mean, yeah, you're going to have rioters and looting and stuff like that, but it's going to be a lot less of a problem because inherently people don't want to get shot and get killed over something stupid. They understand that. That fight or flight syndrome kicks in. Trust me, I'm telling you, nobody wants to get a gun aimed at them. Most of the time, people are big, tough talkers until a weapon of some sort, like a bat, well, maybe you can pull the bat out of the guy's hands. But a gun, that's a different story. Everybody understands that a gun makes everybody equal. So I urge you people, if there's, to the listeners, if you're in an area where you can legally buy a firearm, even though the Second Amendment makes it legal, go out and legally purchase a firearm, practice with it, and just keep it to protect yourself and your family, if nothing else, against lawlessness. Because when this crap happens here in the States, you're going to wish that you had a gun to defend yourself. I know a lot of people that have turned around and, they used to be anti-gun, and after they were raped or they watched someone in their family get stabbed or, mugged or the crap kicked out of them or a home invasion, they go out and buy guns. It's sad that it takes that for people to realize that you have a right to defend yourself. It's natural law. You invade my space, you try to hurt me, my loved ones, or my friends, and you just signed your ticket to get, punched off the planet. You just punched your ticket. You're out of here. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out for the show. Again, look at the London riots from 15 feet back. Take a couple steps back and look at it. I think there's more to it. That's my personal, professional opinion. I'll see you guys Friday. Love you all. Thanks for listening.